Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you like this episode, please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment or two, then subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications of whenever we release new videos. Also, please remember to share them to your social media. The young man heard a sudden splash in the creek as he approached his home. The eerie early morning hour made the splashing take on an ominous tone, but he shrugged it off as migrating salmon. The highway, which normally bustled with traffic, was only a few yards away and was the busiest in the state, but was now empty. Only having a few yards to walk to his front door, the young man felt the familiar crunch of his gravel driveway, having left the paved road. From the direction of the creek bank he could hear brush popping, but the source of the noise was cloaked by the dark of night. Suddenly a huge shadowy shape burst through the brush and began closing in on the young man from only a few yards away. Having grown up in bear country his whole life, he knew this was an angry brown bear, and his life was in danger. He had just enough time to raise his fists like a boxer. Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. Just a few miles northeast of the Alaskan town of Anchorage lies the town of Eagle River. It's positioned at the foot of the Chugach Mountains and Chugach State Park, with its primitive and pristine forests and expansive trail system. The state park has been referred to as a bear factory by locals, as it pumps out healthy numbers of black and brown bears. The problem is, those bears have easy access to the neighboring towns. The wilderness starts on the edge of town in Eagle River, and sometimes goes right into town. The ground is covered with dense stands of willows, alder, and devil's club, interspersed with blueberry and cranberry bushes. The forests are majestic, consisting of white and Sitka spruce, cottonwood, and paper birch trees. Common animals here include massive moose, cautious caribou, and Dall sheep dancing along the peaks and crags. The predators here include bobcats, a handful of cougars, wary wolves, and both black bears and brown bears. In 2008, the residents of Anchorage and neighboring towns like Eagle River were experiencing a bear crisis. State Fish and Game phone lines logged 500 to 600 bear complaints, ranging from trash can raids to bears visiting decks and patios of residences. At least 8 Alaskans were attacked in 2008, and maulings peaked in late summer, with 3 occurring within a 5-day period. A poor salmon run had brought the bears into the waterways near town, and now residents were paying the price. A few weeks before, a young woman had been attacked while riding on a bike path. A few days later, another woman was jogging when she was attacked. Wildlife officers focused their attention on a sow who had been seen with her cubs, wandering the trails near town. The hungry and irritated bear had demonstrated moderate aggression towards the presence of people, despite her choosing to be so close to human development. On August 4, 2008, around 2 a.m., 18-year-old Devon had decided to walk the short distance back to his grandmother's house after watching the movie Never Back Down with a friend. The movie was everything 2 young men would ask for in a fight flick. Flying fists and soaring kicks piqued their imaginations and inflated their sense of bravado. This false sense of self-confidence probably persuaded Devon to brave the dark on his way home alone. Now, just to be clear how ready Devon was to defend himself, let's take a look at what he was packing, which wasn't much. He had no bear spray nor firearm with him. He took the midnight walk without the company of a dog. But he was a stout young fella, at 5 feet 11 inches in height, and weighing in at about 215 pounds, and his attitude made him feel tougher than his good size. As he stepped out into the darkness, Devon was confident that his trip home would be quick and safe. The route was familiar and took him along the banks of a creek he enjoyed playing along. He was about 50 yards from his house when he heard splashing in the creek and figured it was migrating salmon. Now, there was one aspect of the creek that Devon hadn't considered to be anything important. He was at the point on his route that approached a culvert which allowed traffic across the creek and the water to run freely on its route. Migrating salmon often gathered at the mouth of the culvert, patiently waiting their turn to rush up the pipe and emerge to continue upstream. Brown bears had also noticed this phenomenon and had taken to resting on the bank while waiting for salmon to gather. After talking himself out of panicking when the sudden splashing sounded, Devon began crossing over the culvert in the final few yards approaching his home. Suddenly bushes began shaking and twigs snapping as something large forced its way through them and toward Devon. In the twilight, Devon could make out the enormous shoulders of a brown bear, now only a few yards from him. His mind quickly raced through his options. Should he dash the short distance to the safety of his home, or wait to see what the bear would do? Unfortunately, his mind was made up for him, as the bear closed in on him quickly. Still being pumped up by the action scenes of the movie he'd watched, Devon threw up his fists and prepared to rumble with the big bear. As you can imagine, the bear countered Devon's fleet-footed boxing routine by biting into his arm and tossing him around. With one of his arms in the bear's mouth, Devon pummeled the bear about the head with the other. He would later describe the bear's actions as the same or similar to a dog's actions during a fight. Her head tossed and her jaws snapped while she slapped and swatted his side, ripping gashes along his ribs. Screaming out of terror and agony, Devon did his best impersonation of Muhammad Ali, floating like a butterfly and stinging like a bee. The bear was too fast, too strong, too angry. She overpowered him and drove her canines through the flesh of both of his thighs during the melee. As a parting shot, she swatted him upside the head, giving him a swollen and blackened eye before departing. Now battered, bleeding, and standing in tattered pants, Devon searched his pockets for his cell phone. Stumbling toward a nearby fire station, he called first responders for help and was soon met by police and paramedics. A dose of morphine set the pain at bay as the terror of the incident faded. Devon was rushed to a nearby hospital, where he was treated for lacerations and deep puncture wounds to his head, left arm and side, and his thighs and waist. Following the fight, Lieutenant Paul Honeman acted as an impromptu referee, declaring the bout a draw just before Fish and Game officers scoured the area in search of the bear. They suspected the bear to blame would be the sow brown bear, who had racked up several complaints by visitors to the area in previous weeks. Following the attack on Devon, his uncle R.J. Jones reported seeing bears along the creek recently. He'd been charged by a bear while riding his bike, but managed to outrun the bear before it could injure him. Wildlife officers decided that the bear's actions were defensive in nature, and that no action would be taken against her or her cubs. There was no cached animal carcass nearby, and the sow was likely acting in defense of herself and her cubs. Speaking of cubs, our Cub Tier membership on Patreon, linked below, will give you ad-free early access to our episodes, notes, and pictures. And the $3 per month goes a long way in helping me continue to produce educational and entertaining content like this. Following his boxing match with the bear, Devon reported, "I wasn't going to lay down and take it. The bear came and tried to fight me. I definitely earned my bragging rights, boxing a bear," said Reese. "It got me a couple of times, and I got her a good couple of times. I wasn't going to give the bear an easy target." The state of Alaska currently hosts over 30,000 brown bears over its 663,267 square miles, with a statewide density of 1 brown bear per 22 square miles. Densities vary depending on habitat quality and availability of food sources. The city of Anchorage covers 1 million acres and has a population of 360,000 people. Alongside their human neighbors, at least 300 black bears and 50 to 60 brown bears meander the city boundaries in search of food. After reviewing the facts surrounding this episode, I'm left with a few questions for you. Do you think Devon would have had time to deploy bear spray or use a firearm to defend himself in such a surprise and short-range encounter? Should wildlife officials do more to alert residents of the presence of bears? Would you venture out for a midnight walk in bear country after watching a fighting movie? I might feel brave enough to do that. I'll gladly read and reply to your thoughts, so post them in the comment section below, and let's talk about it. Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider clicking on the like button and clicking on the bell icon. We'll help you know when we post our new episodes. Posting our video links to your social media profiles furthers awareness, and it's fun. We slashed our prices in our merch store, linked below, so check out the bargains there while you shop. As a member of our human community, remember to adventure bravely and be careful out there, especially in bear country.